Please rise as our Long Branch High School Air Force ROTC presents the colors. I'm going to ask that you remain standing for a few minutes. We'll be led in our flag salute by our board president, Jim Parnell. We'll be led in prayer by our high school senior, Kira Brown. While taps are being played and the flag will be folded afterwards.
Order on.
And now our board president will lead us in the flag salute. And now Rafaela and Gloria will lead us in the national anthem.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the red ones we watch, where so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please remain standing while Kira Brown leads us in our opening prayer.
Please bow your heads for prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for this gathering, Father. We ask that you continue to guide us and bless us, that you watch over and comfort those that were affected by the acts on September 11, 2001. We ask that you continue to bless the first responders from that fateful day, our police, firefighters, and EMTs. We also ask that you bless our military serving both here, at home, and overseas. Dear Lord, we ask that you touch all of our hearts and minds so we can become more accepting of one another and with each other. We thank you for all of your blessings. In the Lord's name I pray, amen.
Please remain standing while two students from our Long Branch High School, Kevin Dement and Carlos Salmon, perform a rendition of Taps. Please be seated. So good morning, everyone, and on behalf of the Board of Education, I see almost the entire board is here today. And I see a lot of special guests from the community here as well. And you know what it is? Nobody has time in their schedule to come to these events. They make time to come to them. So on behalf of the board, our president, our vice president, Mr. Hornell, Ms. George, Mr. Avery Grant, Ms. Critelli, Mr. Dangler, Ms. Wittes, Mr. Coven, our cabinet, our faculty, our staff, we want to welcome first, let's welcome the students here. Good morning, everybody. Other people who made time in their schedule and didn't have it are people from our city, our elected officials. I see our council president, John Pallone, here, Joy Pistelli, Dr. Selly, thank you for joining us this morning. I see our public safety director, Roebuck, here. Now, if you are a first responder or a person who was in a uniform for some time to protect our freedom, or currently work with a uniform to protect our freedom and our safety and security, can you please stand? Can you please stand? Let's give them a round of applause. We also have our spiritual leaders from the community who came out. I've just recently heard that Reverend Gibson wasn't able to make it this morning, but I do see Reverend Chung, Reverend Bennett, Pastor Gloria James. So thank you all for coming out. The people who say prayers for us all the time, so let's give them a round of applause. And we also have a lot of community support. It kind of goes hand in hand what we do here in the schools all the time. We're always trying to develop partnerships with people in the community. So I do see here, I see from the Portuguese Club, and they had a pretty awesome festival this weekend. I see our president from the Portuguese Club, Bruno, here. Thanks for coming out, Bruno. I also see from the Latino Association, I see Violetta Peters. And then from the Housing Authority, I know Mr. Don Coven is from the Housing Authority as well. So let's welcome them here this morning. Any other guests that came, welcome to Long Branch High School. This is our 13th year of doing these ceremonies. And we do it because it's an important message. And I thought I'd start with maybe a story about where I was September 11th, but I'm sure somebody will do that today. So I figured it might be best to start with the words of people from Long Branch High School with a short film made right here in the halls of this school. So if we go to the film, please.
The morning of 9/11, I woke up and just started getting ready for my day. It was a gorgeous, beautiful, sunny day. I was a sophomore at Monmouth University, and I went downstairs into the kitchen to find my father-in-law watching the news, and he had just informed me that the first plane had crashed in the Twin Towers.
I was actually in Long Island at school. I went to the University of Stony Brook. That morning I was in the weight room, and I came out of the weight room. I was walking back to my dorms, and I noticed that everybody on the first floor had their doors open. And it was still early, and I'm like, that's kind of weird. And then one other student came out, and he said, hey, the plane hit the World Trade Center.
And on that morning, I remember being in my kindergarten class in the wing of the old Gregory School. And I remember the day was going on, our day had started, the children had eaten breakfast, and my friend Mrs. Feldman, who's also here at Gregory School, came in and brought me to my desk inside. I want to tell you something, she told me. And she said, there's been something terrible in New York City.
So I go to the room, take a shower, And I start to watch it myself as I'm typing the paper, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow, and I'm seeing the live time as the next plane is about to hit the World Trade Center. So when the next plane hit the World Trade Center, everything stopped.
As I entered the teacher's room, I heard what was going on. The TV was on, and I heard them talking about a building, a plane going into the building, and everyone was screaming in the teacher's room. And I walked in, and I saw it for myself what was going on. And when I looked at the TV, it was the second plane going into the building. I was devastated.
I was heading to class, and I was listening to the radio. The worst part of the day for me was hearing the broadcast while the tower was hit, then the second tower was hit, knowing it was not an accident. It was a scary morning because you didn't really know what was going on, and every time you spoke to somebody you got a piece of the story. And I know a lot of my friends lost either friends or family members that day. Family, and I heard the announcer say live on the air that this building, the World Trade Center, has crumbled and we are going off the air.
I couldn't believe it because I remember growing up and watching the World Trade Center being built in the 60s and the early 70s. And I said, "What do you mean? Virginia, what do you mean?" And she said, "They're going down." The planes went right into them.
That film was great here at Long Branch High School. To the students, to the teachers that helped make that, can we just give them a round of applause? The importance of that film is so many people, adults will get up today, a few adults will share stories of it. But you are a generation that is attached to YouTube and video, and sometimes we've got to bring you back there. I know for me, that brought chills up my spine, kind of seeing that vision again. So we want this day to be about connecting you to the event so that we don't remember, we don't forget incidents like that in the past, so we remain united. At this time, I'd like to call forward a friend to Long Branch, somebody from Monmouth County who works very closely with our Sheriff Golden, who couldn't be here today. But he is the Undersheriff for Monmouth County. If you give a warm welcome to our Undersheriff, Frederick Dyke.
Thank you, Mr. Salvatore, for inviting the Sheriff's Office to speak today. On behalf of Sheriff Sean Golden, who could not be here today, obviously for other engagements that he had prior arranged to speak at, he does send his best. I see on the screen, we remember. I can give you a little story about where I was on 9/11. Very emotional day. I was a 36-year-old police sergeant in Middletown Township. It was my first day shift back from vacation. We were going out to the cars to go on the road, and all of a sudden the plane started hitting. We didn't know what to do. Nobody knew what to do until the second plane hit, and then the Pentagon got hit, and then the plane went down in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. and obviously the result being over 3,000 lives being lost. Very tragic day. Before I knew it, I was on a ferry with hundreds of other law enforcement officers, EMS workers, first responders, going over to the city, where I spent the next couple of days, doing whatever we could do, and realizing there wasn't many survivors. Left behind my wife and 2 children, my son, who is now a police officer, just recently graduated the academy. It's something not only we need to remember, but we can never forget. One thing I will say is I try to find good in everything, even a tragic event like 9/11. One of the things I took out of that was I'll always remember how the country pulled together. It didn't matter what nationality you were. It didn't matter what class you were from, rich, poor, people living on the streets. Everybody pulled together for one cause, to support all of the emergency services workers, support all the families. That was probably one of the, I've never seen as many flags being flown for years afterwards. It's a nice thing to come here and remember today, but you have to remember every day. We have people in our armed forces that are fighting every day for our freedom. Now we have collateral issues going on with not only first responders that are being treated now for medical issues from the air quality issues from 9/11, but also there was a lot of support people that responded that day. Construction workers and civilians that just came there to hand out food and work and do what they could. That's all coming back around now, because now they're starting to have issues and medical issues. So unfortunately, that toll from 9/11 of 3,000 is unfortunately rising. So I see 8th graders are in the auditorium today. High school students, some of you are not old enough to really remember 9/11. It's just like when I was a child, and you talk about Pearl Harbor. I wasn't there, but you never forget it. The only thing I can suggest is that you take from this is never ever forget what your country does for you, for your freedom, and just give a thank you to everybody that tries to make the world safe today. So I won't take much more of your time. I want to thank you for having us come today, and just always remember that tragic event and the lives that were lost that day. Thank you.
And now from the Long Branch Middle School, the middle school choir singing Bridge Over Troubled Water.
I will take your part. Oh, when darkness comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. I'll be a bridge or troubled water. When you're down, I will carry you like a bridge or troubled water. I will lay me down. I'll be a bridge or troubled water. When you're down, I will carry you like a bridge or troubled water. I will lay me down. I will lay me down. I will lay me down.
How many of you needed that this morning? That was pretty awesome. Let's give another round of applause to the Long Branch Middle School Choir. Outstanding job. Great job, Mr. Whitmore. Whew. I needed that. At this time, from the City of Long Branch, the Director of Veteran Services, National Jewish War Veterans. He's also a member of the Housing Authority. Please welcome Michael Winnick.
Dr. Salvatore, thank you, and the board and the administration. I'd like to give a personal thanks for you maintaining this process for the past 13 years. How many of you here are older than 14, beside the group in the front here? Raise your hands if you're older than 14. How many, now put your hands down, how many remember 9/11? I got 2. Okay, then I'm going to tell you 2 stories of mine. I prepared a speech, and I decided it's not appropriate. What I do have is my memories. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, I was on my way to a meeting in Freehold. The radio said a plane crashed into the World Trade Center. And I pictured in my mind a Piper Cub hitting the World Trade Center. When I got to the county library where we were having our meeting, they had a television on, and I saw the first plane hit. They replayed it. And I went into the meeting and I said, there's an air traffic controller who's in a lot of trouble. Right after that, a second plane hit. And we knew it wasn't funny any longer. And it was a matter of, well, what do we do to help? Wasn't much we could do from our end. And later in the day, we ended up helping people getting off of boats that were ferrying them in from New York back home. And that was the extent of my involvement. And I'm not used to that. I'm generally more involved. But it was important. And that brought me back to a friend of mine. This guy, Charlie. Charlie worked for the Port Authority. He was an engineer. And his office, 2 years before, was in a lower level, right underneath the place where I don't know if you remember, there was a van that they blew up at the World Trade Center. Well, his office was right under that van when it blew up. And on that day, 9/11, his office was on the 84th floor of the World Trade Center. And Charlie survived both attacks. Unscathed, actually. His biggest problem was how he got home, and he managed to get a boat to bring him. Right now, he's suffering. I work with a lot of veterans in filing claims with the VA for different ailments. And probably the most predominant is the post-trauma stress disorder. And that lives on forever. And guys like my friend Charlie, well, they're gonna have it for the rest of their lives. The memories, the nightmares, the flashbacks. And I don't know, your being out here gives some meaning to it. If you carry it back, then 9/11 is not something we can forget, any more than we could ever forget Pearl Harbor. That approximately 3,000 people died that day. And if we forget it, their lives would mean nothing. We're not going to forget it. That I can assure you. I promised the board that I would have you back to class on time. And they told me that the students are in a rush to get back. So I'm going to cut it short right now and say, just remember, 9/11 is part of our American heritage. Thank you.
Now, on this morning, we always invite the police department, the fire department to come out, first responders. And as I was coming here this morning, I saw the fire department going the other way with the sirens on. And I started waving out the window, guys, where you going? It's the other way. And they obviously had something more important to go to. But they made it back. So whatever they did, they solved one problem. They made it back here. So to our fire chief, Kevin Stout, and his team and squad, thanks for joining us a little late, but we appreciate that you're here. And now, from the Amerigo A. Anastasia Elementary School, we have a little ditty by our elementary students called Yankee Doodle Dandy. Let's give them a round of applause. Let's keep it going from as they walk off the stage. Great job. America, way on the stage at school. So this is the part where you participate. Raise your hand if you're perfect. We've got about 6, 7. I was going to go to you. So what if I said, I think there's more? Now, I know our spiritual leaders are in the audience going, don't go there, right? Don't go there. We know. But what if I said, just bear with me for a second, what if I said, we're all perfect? And English teachers are going to cringe right now if I said we're perfectly imperfect. What if I said that? What if I said we're all perfectly imperfect? Which means we all have flaws. That even though a few of you raised your hand, you know we have flaws. And at some time in our life, we start realizing we're different, we have weaknesses, and we have flaws. But what my message today about being perfectly imperfect is that those flaws, if channeled the right way, can be used to help other people, can be used for something positive. And we've got to understand that we're not pre-wired for design to be something because our dad was or because our grandfather was. Is that despite our flaws or our background or our circumstance, we have the ability to change our design. Now, there's a story of a man that I became acquainted with this week through YouTube. And his name is Zach Ibrahim. Has anybody heard of Zach Ibrahim? I wouldn't think so, even though he has 2.9 million views on YouTube. Now, Zach is pretty famous. 2.9 million views is a lot, you would think, right? You know what he's famous for? That his dad was a terrorist. His dad, his father, was one of the people that attempted to blow up the World Trade Center in 1993. His father, his uncles, the people sat around his table. You see, Zach had flaws. His family they were all arrested, except for he and his mother. Now, Zach could have used his flaws as excuses to go on and do terrible things. You see, around Zach's table growing up, there were talks of hate, of people who were different, who believed in different things, who lived life differently. There was talks of hatred, of destruction around his table. At the age of 7, Zach was brought to a shooting range to taught how to fire a rifle. And his family was so proud because he was a good shot. Now, what changed Zach's life is that his father and his family went to jail. And there goes our fire department again. Good luck, guys. Thank you for coming this morning. You see, we don't have time for this. We make time for these things. And sometimes we've got to exit. But Zach, let me tell you, Zach, he realized he went for the next 20 years hiding. Because after his family went to jail, he and his mother, wherever they went, they felt condemned. They felt tormented because they bear the last name of a terrorist in America. They ran from community to community. He moved 20 times before graduating high school. Until he finally looked at his mother in the eyes and said, "Mom, we can't live like this anymore. We've got to accept our flaws. We've got to accept what's wrong about us so we can get past it." You see, what I'm saying today is not about taking inventory of the things that are wrong with you every day, because people do that all the time. I call it the not enough syndrome. You ever hear the people? They say, "I'm not strong enough. I'm not wise enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough." We don't want to take inventory of those things. We want to realize what our flaws are so we can get past them. So Zach says to his mother, "You know what? We've changed our name several times. I've got to come out with this. I feel condemned. And I don't want to live as a terrorist son. I want to live as somebody who's trying to change this world because I like American culture and what we're doing here. I'm American." So he came out and he wrote a book called I Am the Terrorist Son. And you know what the book is about? It's about flaws. It's about understanding that what your father did, or what your grandfather did, or what happens in your neighborhood is not your fate. That you have the ability to change some pre-wiring. You have the ability to change your outcome in life. Because in the end, we are all like the clay on the table and the potter's hand that every time he moves it or she moves it, it changes the clay. That's what all of our experiences are. That's what our education does. It changes us throughout our life. Now, we can change it for the good or change it for the bad. Of course, my recommendation is to change it to make this world a better place. Because we are all perfect. We are all perfectly imperfect. And I want you to embrace that today and believe that no matter what your flaws are, it doesn't mean about ditching them. It means accepting them, understanding who you are, and making a difference in this world. I want to thank you all for coming today. Let us always remember and never forget the acts that brought us together on this day. Thank you and have a great day, everybody.